The independent kingdom of Bhutan is located in Southeast Asia, most of it being 2,000 meters above sea level, and is situated between India in the south and Tibet in the north. The land of the thundering dragon, high up between the peaks of the Himalayas. Thimphu is the capital of this fascinating country, 2,300 meters above sea level, and a challenging place to travel to. A large gate and a stupa welcome visitors. Until the 1960s, Bhutan was protected from intruders due to its geographical location and was totally cut off from the outside world. Thimphu is not a typical capital city. Here, Buddhism dominates all. This, the Changanka Temple. One of the oldest lakangs in Thimphu Valley, built in the 15th century by a descendant of the founder of the Drukpa school. The temple was renovated at the end of the 20th century and is visited by many families. The town is mainly inhabited by the state clergy, the royal family, members of the government, various officials, and a constantly changing middle class. Today the traffic is increasing, but it's still bearable, and its few policemen are quite friendly. In Bhutan, building styles are strictly adhered to. By royal decree, the buildings must reflect traditional design. On the northern edge of the city, on the banks of the Wang River, is the Pangrizampa Temple. Two impressive white buildings in the center of a monastery. After his arrival in Bhutan in 1616, Shabdrung Ngawang Namgyal lived here, as the temple appeared to him in a vision. Today, a monastic school of astrology is located behind an unusually long prayer wall of carved stones, surrounded by a forest of cypress trees. An array of prayer flags adorns a bridge in the center of Thimphu. It's a fascinating sight. From here, it's not far to the large Songkang marketplace, a colorful meeting place for both farmers and traders. There's a fine display of vegetables, fruit, spices, and all kinds of goods. Halfway up a built-up slope is the Chotan Memorial that was built in 1974. This impressive monument with its golden top was built in honor of the late third king, but contains only a photo. It was commemorated by his mother. The main building is the Fortress of Auspicious Religion, the Tashikoidzong, built at the command of Shabdrung. Since 1641, it has been the summer residence of both king and clergy, and is also the seat of government. South of Thimphu, where the streets to Paro and Punakha diverge, Semtokazong is located in a strategic position, a typical Bhutanese fortress. The sturdy sloping walls of the Palace of Profound Tantric Teachings was designed to ward off attack by 5 groups of lamas in 1634. In its infancy, Bhutan was a Hindu feudal principality up until the 8th century, when Indian missionaries introduced Buddhism. However, in the following century it was violently opposed by Tibetan monks. They replaced it with Lamaism, into which increasing numbers of subgroups were formed. Curved, narrow streets and steep slopes are typical of Bhutan. Since the gradual opening of the country, the major pathways in the mountain valleys have been extended. The road to Punakha travels across the Dochula Pass, from the top of which 108 chotans appear in the mist. Chotan are containers for religious offerings that symbolize Buddha's consciousness in the Himalayan countries and are therefore sacred. As quickly as it arrives, the fog vanishes, and the Drukwangyali Hakang temple suddenly appears out of nowhere on a nearby hill. It is believed that it took as its inspiration the model of Zandopelri, the copper palace of Guru Rinpoche. In memory of the holy deeds and gestures of the 4th king. The route leads down to the next valley, from 3,050 meters. At one time, the river valleys and narrow mountain tracks could only be traveled with pack animals. Again and again we pass small villages whose well-preserved farmhouses seem to cling precariously to the slopes. The center of the village contains a small shop. Occasionally minibuses pass by, and Chotans continue to protect against demons. It's around 2 hours' drive from Thimphu to the next slightly larger settlement. Lobesa is situated on a crossroad that leads to Punakha and Wangdu Phodrong. The village is developing quite quickly, and a number of attractive buildings and eating places vie with a street market. Here, the region's farmers do their shopping, and vehicles stop to load large quantities of goods. We take the only road to Punakha. Soon the Punachang River appears, and groups of monks hurry along in the same direction. Punakha, a larger village whose main building is a monastery castle that is strategically located at the meeting of 2 rivers. Punakha Dzong was Bhutan's winter capital for over 300 years. Guru Rinpoche blessed this place and predicted the construction of a fortress here. In 1637, Shabdrung came here to set up camp. The same night, he had a prophetic dream. Thus he decided to build a dzong here and to store within it a most sacred relic which he had brought from his monastery in Tibet. It was the Avalokiteshvara statue that had miraculously appeared from nowhere. The Tibetans wanted it back and duly attacked, but the Bhutanese defended it successfully, an event that is celebrated each year. People from across the country come to Punakha to celebrate the sacred victory festival in the monastery. At this time, the dzong is open to all. During the 3-day celebration, thousands of people populate the large courtyard in order to experience religious processions and ritual dances. Masked monks play gods and guardian deities that are depicted in the temple as paintings and sculptures. Entertaining clowns amuse the audience, along with women's singing groups, all beneath the benevolent eyes of Je Khenpo. Scenes of the daily life of the Bhutanese are portrayed in dance, in fields, and during a hunt. The gods are always close by. Several mystery dances recall the deeds of the mighty Shabdrung, who led the Drukpa school in the 17th century. A monk who characterizes Shabdong Rinpoche appears before the waiting crowd, and the demons are yet again expelled. The result is the victory of the forces of good over evil. Religion is the basis of daily life here, and sacred rites are treated with the utmost respect. The people enjoy the monastery festivals and spend the whole day here. Monks in colourful costumes and masks, plus the participation of the people in both song and dance, create a mystical mood and make the monastery festival something really special. Bhutan is a peaceful country whose symbol is a dragon. In the 12th century, during construction of a Tibetan monastery, a roll of thunder was heard, a sound that was interpreted as the voice of a dragon. Bhutan is a country of fertile paddy fields and orchards, tiny, colourful villages, deep, wide valleys, and snow-capped mountains. Agriculture is the main source of income of its people. Around 5,500 species of plants grow here, many of them containing medicinal properties. Mother Nature is worshipped, and culture and age-old traditions are well observed. Situated on a hill in the Punakha Valley and surrounded by paddy fields is the idyllic Chimilakang. The temple is a place of pilgrimage for infertile women. A sacred tree and a forest of prayer flags surround the little Chimya monastery that was built on a plateau. It was founded by Ngawang Chogyal, the 14th heir of Ralun, in 1499. It's on the site of a stupa previously built at the command of Lama Drukpa Kanli. High above the Punachang River and with a bridge checkpoint, the Wangdu Phodrang Dzong dominates a majestic mountain ridge. To the founder of the empire, a deity who appeared in a dream predicted peace, and that a fortified monastery would be built in the shape of a sleeping bull. The fortified monastery is quite charming, rustic, and was built in various stages. The rearmost building just above the bridge is the oldest part of the fortress. Its secrets hidden to visitors. From here, the route leads back to Thimphu Valley and then south. 3 chortens protect Shuzem against evil spirits. Where the Paro River meets the Thimphu River, the road branches off. At first, Paro Valley is narrow, wild and barren. The small temple of Tibetan Saint Gyalpo guards a strategic bend. There's no space for buildings and fields, only for the river and roads. But the valley gradually opens up. And the first settlements appear. The hard-working farmers plough every available inch of earth with their oxen using primitive methods, but they're satisfied with their harvest. Next, Paro. The town settlement of Paro was founded in 1985 and has since developed rapidly along the river. Here too, the bridge in its center is decorated with colorful icons, prayer flags, and paintings of numerous saints. Small towers guard steps to the bridge on both banks, and in the background, the fortress is visible. The former wooden bridge across the torrential river was retracted when danger threatened. The street, which leads from Dzong, is lined with a large square chorten. Next, on the left, is the Drukgyal Temple, which in 1525 the great-grandfather of Shabdong Namgyal built as a residence on his arrival at Paro Valley. A straight main street runs through the town, passing an old monastic tower, a square, and buildings of traditional design. At street level, there are many small shops that are typical of mountain villages. This is where the local people do their shopping. The route to Paro Dzong travels along the valley to Dangtsi Lakhang, a small temple that is shaped like a Tibetan chorten. According to legend, a monster once lived here, a turtle with 9 heads, which brought misfortune to all the people in the area. However, they managed to close up the cave in which the monster lived and built the temple above it. Here, the land is fertile. There are no monsters, and modern technology is slowly conquering the secluded valley. The fortified Paro Monastery is one of the most beautiful buildings in Bhutan. The mighty fortress once controlled the route by which the Tibetan armies repeatedly invaded. The Uchi, a central tower with a main temple, stands in the middle of a courtyard and is surrounded by buildings, temples, monasteries and government offices. In the 5-story buildings also lives the governor of the valley and the monks. The lower section of the second courtyard is a cloistered area and is decorated accordingly. For more than 1,000 years, this tiny kingdom has survived in self-imposed isolation, cut off from the outside world by its own deliberate policy. Above Paro, on a slope on the right-hand bank of the river, lies the temple of the Key River. According to legend, a giant female demon settled on the entire Himalayan region in order to prevent the spread of Buddhism. "108 temples were placed on each major part of her body. Thus, Kichulakang was built on her left foot. At the end of the valley, about 15 kilometers from Paro and located on a hill, is the once proud Drukgyal fortress. At its foot, the beautiful village of Sento, nestling against protective rocks and surrounded by fertile fields which are brown or green according to the season of the year. Today, only ruins recall the heroic role of the fortified monastery during the Tibetan-Bhutanese War, as a defense against the incursion of the Tibetans. Just off the only road in the Paro Valley, pack horses are waiting. From here begins the arduous ascent to one of the most remote monasteries in the world. Various horses return to the valley, finally free of their burdens. From curve to curve, the Takshang monastery comes into view, nestling in the steep rock. This, the Tiger's Nest, is world famous. Flags flutter in the cool breeze and prayer wheels rotate at 2,950 meters above sea level. We arrive at this holy place, situated between heaven and earth, and where Guru Rinpoche landed triumphantly on the back of a flying tigress. This amazing country has retained its ancient traditions, religious secrets, and cultural identity. Tashi Dedak. Goodbye, Bhutan.